I'm excited to be joined here today by Saad, my good friend from Data Robot Days. And man, I haven't seen you in forever. Let's kind of catch up. What you been up to the last few years?
Yeah, the past few years, so I recently just ended a time at Saudi Arabia. I was like maybe the first and last like non-Saudi government official, helping out with the Hajj and Umrah minister.
You were a government official there?
Yeah, which is strange. Like it's a
Yeah.
very unusual thing to happen.
Hmm.
So I did that for 2 years.
Were you
Before that,
elected?
hmm?
Were you elected?
No, no.
Oh, I see.
So it was just an appointment within one of the ministries. And so did that for 2 years. As you
What
know,
did you
before
do
that.
there?
Hmm?
What did you do there?
So you know, so you know, like the Ministry of Hajj and Umrah. It's like the ministry responsible for like the Muslim pilgrimage to Mecca and Medina. So just advising the minister on just about everything. It's a very interesting field because it's a microcosm of everything. You see like every country, you see all their data,
Mhm.
you wrangling with climate change and like heat, and you're dealing. And so these an interesting context. It was a very closed place that has just now opened up. So not only do you learn about that country, but you learn about how humans are like when you go from a closed situation to an open situation. We had the same kind of thing with Cuba and Myanmar and Russia at some point. So Saudi's like the latest to join this like closed to open transition. And so that was very interesting to see that. Worked a lot with the city of Medina, and just being a AI guy, couldn't help myself. Got involved with a bunch of AI stuff, and yeah, just kind of what you'd expect.
How did you get pulled into that? That's fascinating.
Yeah. So basically like it came out of the blue. Back when I was at McKinsey, I really wanted to do a project that McKinsey had with the Ministry of Hajj and Umrah, but I couldn't go because first year consultants can't do foreign work. So from that study, somebody from the BCG side ended up on the Saudi side ended up becoming a kind of like the chief strategy officer. So he wanted to recruit somebody, but that person couldn't go. But they recommended me, their family friends, and so I just kind of got a call out of the blue. I was at Jasper at the time, so Jasper is this generative AI company, and they. Jasper was great, but I was kind of like ready to start my own company. So I was like ready to kind of think about the next thing. But then I get this call, and it's like if you're Catholic, it's like if the Pope asks you to do something, like to work on Hajj and Umrah. It's not the same thing, but it's like it's really hard to say no. And so I was like, okay, and I went, and it was a really wonderful experience. There's a lot of challenging things and a lot of valuable things that happened, but very glad the experience happened.
You're saying Hajj and Roma?
Hajj and Umrah. So Hajj is like the
Umrah.
major pilgrimage to Mecca that
Ah,
Muslims make, and then Umrah is like the minor pilgrimage.
okay. Wow, that's cool. And you said there's AI involved in that work.
Well,
How did AI connect to the work you were doing?
Air's involved a little bit with that work. It was more so just their broader Saudi ecosystem. As you know, I'm a partner at a VC firm, so I have like random stuff happening on the side always. And so within the Hajj and Umrah itself, just to be honest, like not much really. Like I was a little bit involved with the strategy of redoing their digital platform, like Nusuk, which is like how the Saudi government manages like Hajj and Umrah digitally abroad. And it's a pretty big app now. It had a lot of user complaints from years ago,
Wait,
and it
wait.
had.
What would you do in this app? Is it like a
So
scheduling
it's
app?
like booking the pilgrimage package, booking
So it's like
permits
a
and site
like a
visits.
like a travel agency kind of situation.
Yeah, very similar.
Gotcha.
So we
And
we fixed that up.
it's handled through the government.
Yeah. The
Okay.
government manages it. It's contracted out, of course, as most all governments contract all tech out. But we did the strategy, and a lot of the credit goes to the new managers of it. They did a really good job kind of rebooting it. It went from going like 1 star on the App Store to like 5 stars.
Wow.
And there's a little bit of AI in that. I've actually been kind of like pitching them some like AI capabilities now, but most of the AI stuff was like outside of the ministry, like just
Mm.
me like doing stuff.
Okay. Like what?
So, for instance, I'm a supporter of. I don't know if I'm actually able to speak to a lot of it now, but like as a VC, I invest in semiconductors. So we invested in etched, here in the US, ASIC chips that do, um, you know, transformer models inference scaling. So they're like 1/8 the cost of a GPU, and that company's been doing really well. So like uh, so in Saudi, it's more of like I just try to understand their various initiatives that are in AI, and then if there's something that I feel like it's good to advise or build on. I, did that. And so, and there's some continuing things from there, but because some of it's in motion, I'm not sure if I'm able to speak about it.
Understood. Now, did you find that working with a government entity made things faster or slower? Because I find certainly in the U.S. working with the government tends to slow everything down because it's very political and so on. But I would think that with like in China, you kind of hear the opposite, right? You kind of hear like, okay, if the government decides to do it, it's going to happen. It's going to happen fast, kind of thing. I
As
guess
you know, like it's such a specific thing per context and country and moment and use case. Like there's just things you can't do without the government. Like in the US, of course, you can't do anything with defense without the Department of Defense. It's just impossible. And so similarly, like in Saudi, there's just a lot of things that are simply impossible without government. And some things that, are impossible with government. And so it's very much case based. There's like definitely a need and a want to get things to go into ship, and it's very much a success indicator how much top down buy-in that there is. Uh, that something will get funded. That something will get revenue is a completely different story. Like I guess the government can guide where investment works, but only the market can guide where revenue works.
yeah, certainly that seems to be the case in the U.S., right? That really all they can do is spend money.
Hmm.
So what are they
The
spending money on AI wise? I'm so fascinated by this because in the U.S., as you know, I mean, you've seen the congressional hearings, right, where the congressmen are like grilling some executive about whether or not their phone is tracking them, or and it just becomes really obvious that the government officials have no concept of how any technology works at all.
mm.
And it's like, how are these people supposed to do what their job is when it comes to like regulating and growing and all that kind of stuff? Do you find the same in Saudi Arabia?
Well, uh, hmm. Things are changing very quickly, and I don't think anybody, even in the tech space, like tech people don't know what AI will do, right? Like they just know how the tech works. And I remember even with ChatGPT, like they were surprised, like the ChatGPT was successful, like back in the early days. Like nobody can really predict what happens or what these things do, and that's true for US tech companies. It's true for the US government, and it's true for any foreign government as well. They're all just trying to like ride this new horse and like learn about it at the same time. Um, and so uh like definitely a lot of missteps, right? Like I think we see that publicly, like a lot of public missteps, a lot of wasted money. Even in the US, before the US Department of Energy grants work with Tesla, they had failed. I think the company was called Solara. They just put like all this money into Solara and the company completely flopped. So I think on principles, like it's always good to have a policy that's built for like readiness and that's built for like resilience and multiple outcomes. So there's a sense, there's a couple professors in Stanford who are working on this. They're not just like, oh, I predict AI will do this, let's fund that. It's more of like, here's all the scenarios we're thinking, and no matter what, we'll need A, B, and C. So let's invest in A, B, and C. And we know that, so I think that's sort of like scenario based, backwards approach. Start small investments and scale into what works, much like a VC, but just with a bit of a longer time scale. I think that tends to work better than any of the sort of like deterministic, here's the future, let's build that sort of a thing from government. I think individual startups and entrepreneurs can do different things, but different people play different roles in that ecosystem.
Hmm. So you think the main place where governments are playing in the AI space is strictly funding. It's not actual AI applications or AI integrations with government services or anything like that.
Um, No, no. I think there's quite a few roles. So I think governments can procure and like they can be like the first movers themselves. I think they can fund and give grants. Like I think the DOE grants have been really great for tech transfer in the US. DARPA grants have been fantastic as well. I think there's a lot of papers out of MIT about like funding cyclotron road, funding research laboratories. So those are great uses as well. Like Jennifer Doudna, this amazing scientist who like advocates for genetic research, like very much an advocate for like scientific core research. So I think R&D, I think procurement, I think company-based grants too. Sometimes like Bill Gates has this thing called what's it called? It's like the green premium or something. Like how green technologies aren't economically viable yet because they're so much more expensive. So you have to like subsidize the premium until it becomes scaled. Then once it's scalable, then it's like viable. So I think government can play roles in that sort of a thing. But I think it just, I don't think there's like a one size fits all sort of an answer. I think it's very sector by sector, moment by moment, tech by tech.
But everything you just said is funding.
Yeah.
I want to see the DMV using AI to like, expedite the line. I
Yeah,
want to
yeah, yeah,
see
exactly.
like have you seen anything like that going on?
Well, then in abroad,
I
and
mean,
not just in,
obviously the DMV would be like state governments and stuff like that, but
yeah,
certainly there are places where something like that might be useful.
I think there's a lot of promise in healthcare specifically. Like, I think preventative health and um I hate to use fatty terms, but like outside the, and maybe even in the US too, like this word longevity, I'm just hearing it like a lot more now, where like you kind of predict people's like health span, like what percentage of your remaining lifespan is healthy versus unhealthy, given like your behaviors and your medication and these sorts of things. So I think in healthcare, there's a lot of like predictive potential. I think there's a huge opportunity to like reform how we think about health, to like be more proactive and preventative and getting people, I mean, we already kind of know the holy grail of healthcare: exercise more, don't eat too many sugar processed foods, and get sleep, have good relationships. Like that's pretty much it. Pretty much like will change 20 years of lifespan slash healthy health. We already know it, but like people aren't really nudged to do it or not to do it. um and uh I think healthcare, there's a lot of deployment space. Maybe in financial literacy and like all that sort of a thing. Basic government services too. I think in many countries abroad, there's just better like digital customer facing infrastructure, like for electronic stuff. Like we had such a hard time with healthcare.gov in the US. It was such a challenge, like launching it and then managing it. We don't have the same sort of platforms in the US as a lot of foreign countries do.
Oh, mhm. Hmm. Why not?
As you mentioned, we have like 50 states and we have like the one big federal government. um and so I think like if something is state owned or government or federal government owned, it kind of adds a little bit of complexity there. um and for example, like in a lot of countries, you have the one education platform, you have the one, you have the one that. Here we have like the data right 50 times, and then there's a bit of ambiguity. That said, though, I feel like when we do succeed, it should succeed really well and scale too. Um, and like I think we see this in the U.S. versus China. Like China fails at a lot of things, but they succeed at like centralized systems, which come with costs too, right? Like you could argue that they use the same efficiency for like surveillance. So I guess there's no free lunch. I guess like I guess like for more privacy and more, individual protections, you do lose speed and capability at the aggregate level, which might not be. I think that's by design.
So it's about control,
Could
basically.
be.
Yeah. Well, you talked about starting up your own company. Do you have are you in the midst of that? You said you were wrapping up your tour in Saudi Arabia. What's next for Saad?
Yeah, yeah. So I think a lot of AI is built for engagement. So engagement's like how much you're in there, and ChatGPT, session length, and all this sort of a thing. Um, but it's not really built for the like human behavioral outcomes. Like, is this better for me? Is it healthier? Is it for my kids? Is it like actually supporting their development? Is it helping with cognitive skills? Is it helping with relationships? And so I'm very interested in the RL space, but like for optimizing for humans, not for like the AI product.
RL, like reinforcement learning?
Yeah, exactly. So
Yeah.
how do you create the data and like the models that will not just get to AI companies' goals, but to like people's goals? And I think there's a lot of runway there.
Interesting. Now, if it was the case that focusing on human goals was more profitable, then certainly companies would be doing it. So the fact that is it self-defeating there if you're looking to optimize something that's not revenue?
Yeah, you're totally right. So, and hopefully it is revenue, by the way. But like Taylor, like the founder of behavioral economics, was like, he's like cigarette companies and alcohol companies and gambling and all that. They've made billions off of like behavioral economics for like evil, basically. But he's like once for like behavioral science for good or behavioral economics for good. He's like thinking about it. He's like, I made like $9 or something giving a talk, and so so you're 100% right. Like it's very very hard to align uh the incentives of like making a lot of money with the incentives of doing something good. That said, though, I've always wanted to start a company that was great and good. Like great, like it's a huge company, it can like serve many customers and give them a lot of value, but then also like it's good. Like it, I just didn't create the next, billion person doom scrolling app. It's just not what I wanted to do. So I think there's a chance here, especially with steering AI. I think we've seen companies that are trying to do this and they've succeeded. Like I know Anthropic had like the recent kind of, I think they got sued for something, but there's companies that try to like be good and they are able to succeed a little bit at least. And so, um, at the very least, I think it's worth a shot. Like worst case scenario, it'll be an experiment that we learned a lot from, and we'll like maybe move the needle a little bit in like AI that does what humans want it to do, and then and the best case scenario, it'll be a great competitor to a lot of these companies.
Arguably, the most healthy thing would be to get off your phone, right?
Exactly. Well, I mean, I think your AI should help you with that. Like, for example, like a device I would trust with my kids would be one that like kicks them off and is like, go and do this with your friends now. Like that's exactly the sort of thing we want to build.
Interesting. Hmm. And do you think that's realistic?
Yeah, because we've been testing stuff on people and like so far so good.
Tell me more about that. I'd love to know more about that.
What was the question again?
You were talking about the kind of testing that you've done around apps for human good and that sort of thing. I'd love to hear
Yeah.
about that.
So, we have two kind of and two kind of customers or two kind of end users. One of them is people who need the training data for RL, and so we kind of talked about already. The other one,
Well, maybe just go ahead and define reinforcement learning for folks.
so your AI does stuff, and the what that stuff does, uploading a chat, making an image, video, engaging with you over multiple things has to be like that behavior has to be trained. And so one of the ways that we do that is reinforcement learning. Or you could say like, human augmented reinforcement learning. This is like a new term. These words that people just make up. It's always been the same thing. And so that's like, what does a good outcome look like? And you have like multiple questions and multiple answers, and you kind of like start labeling them like this is good, this is bad, this is good, this is bad. Then you're able to like train the model to steer it in the direction of what other humans, experts, decided maybe was good. A good company that does this is Search. I really like that company a lot. They provide really like sophisticated expert labeled data that will steer an AI to have like a chatbot or OpenAI to have like a better quality outcome. So as I said, like so far the outcome metric has just been, is it better? Like will this make ChatGPT better or the outcomes better? And will
Wait,
it
wait.
essentially
Is what better? I don't know what we're evaluating here.
It boils down to like engagement. So is it something the user will accept and stay on longer for? This happens to involve with like if you're making a poem, the poetry is better. If you finish chatting, then like the next step is better. Like that will get you to then do the next step again. So it's been focused very much on the AI's output quality and then the engagement and session length. These are probably the two things that have been focused on right now. So for an image, is the image better? Was the prompt you used to get the image aligned with what you had wanted and the image outcome was, stuff like that. So it boils down to, you could say, very roughly quality and then like engagement, like the length of it keeping you there, which is not dissimilar to like Facebook or Twitter. Like it's more or
Yeah, no,
less,
no. Yeah,
yeah.
everybody's optimizing to keep eyeballs on the screen for sure.
Exactly. And
Gotcha.
so like a more human optimized AI would almost, not, it would not, as you had pointed out, it would not do that. Like as a parent, what's the sort of behavior I would want a device for my kid to have? The kids are having fun. To them, it looks like a game, right? It's like a fun Mario or something. However, it's like, oh, okay, like one of the NPCs spoke in Spanish or Italian, whatever, 10% of the time because they wanted them to learn this language. So, oh, wow, they're by accident getting education. And then, like, we know the social behavior and playing outside is really great. So, either like the app or the game itself got the kids to go outside and play and like, collaborate, or it was like, hey, like, go and, here's some gardening tips. Go do gardening or go play with your friends or, play basketball for 2 hours and come tell me your score later. It would actually like not only know that, but it would know how to appropriately nudge such that the action happened. And so I think as we transition to like one-to-one chatbot models that are just with you and the thing, and we move more to like, there's a lot of people like Yan LeCun and Fei Fei at Stanford. They're moving more to like real world models and these things. I think that like data on human behavior within that world is going to be so much more important. And as a parent, that's what I want for my kids too. I don't want them like sitting in front of the screen all day. So, like I think it's just kind of the next frontier.
Gotcha. So you're focused on figuring out how to do that that reinforcement learning and training that so that you can integrate with all of these applications that have so many eyeballs on them? Is that the
Well,
idea?
we have two customers. So one of them is like we'll come up with really good data, and we want to make a dent on the rest of the ecosystem. So that's us as like a reinforcement learning business. Look at Surge or some other company that does reinforcement learning, like not dissimilar to that. And then on the other hand, like we need to create this data somehow. And so the way that we would do it is through like applications and games that like people just like. And so we generally hate the word gamification because gamification is like used only by people who don't know how video games work. And so so like there's this example of like gamification is like, oh, chocolate's a good thing. Let's just put chocolate on pizza because it'll just make it better. Gamification is like, it's the same kind of approach to games. So we actually just want to make great games that like take you that like incentivize healthy behavior somehow. And through with the permission of the customers, if they would like to donate that data, then we would like to use that to improve and steer our AI models, but everybody else's AI models in a better direction.
Gotcha. Well, you have any games built?
Yes.
Oh, can you talk about it?
So this part is better to talk about. I'll tell you right now, but it's better to release after we actually release them in January.
That's
So,
fine. We'll schedule this for February or March to be
all right,
released.
cool. Let me ask you a question first. What was the most successful fitness app ever?
I don't know. My Fitness Pal, Strava. I don't know. I have
so
no
so
idea.
it was indubitably Pokemon Go.
Oh, fascinating.
More users, 26% step increase on average for each one. Very high usage rate, so like very long longevity of player engagement and so on. And it was a game. So a lot of our games, you can think of them like a lot. We have like 24 different games we're making. That's another one of our advantages. We can make a game like 100 to 1,000 times faster than like your traditional game engine could. But that aside, so like you can think of us as like one of our flagship games that combines a lot of our mechanics together is we're calling it Hear Me Out. Think of it as like everything go. So like for example, one of the IPs is like Sherlock Holmes, and like you'll go around either London if you're visiting London. We actually have like a focus on London and Sherlock, but it could be like you could apply that to anywhere. You could apply it to Cupertino, apply it to New York, whereas like you have to kind of go around the city and solve mysteries with Sherlock Holmes, and like there's like a whole cast of characters there, and we're running really hard with like audio game capabilities. So like
Hmm.
negotiations and mysteries and solving puzzles and like multiplayer. But like we also allow developers to like remix those same mechanics into like any other IP. So okay, fine, you hate Sherlock Holmes. You want to make your own, own character. You can make him a Chinese character like Shaolin Holmes. You can make him somebody completely different. Like if we want to work with IPs like Bluey, so fine, make
Now,
a
by IP, you mean intellectual property.
yeah, like creative
I've
IPs.
never heard anybody but talk about it like that. Okay, go
Oh,
ahead.
sorry.
No, it's fine.
Like creative stuff. So like, if we end up working with like Bluey or like I would love to Bluey if you're listening, I would love to work with you. Like just any like creative platform that people love, we could like stitch it on. But we'll also do it in like a deep way. Like we won't just like slap on the veneer of it. We'll like be like, okay, Bluey's for this age group. So therefore we need to convert the mechanics to like work for this age group. Bluey doesn't do mysteries like Sherlock. It does other mechanics like this. We have like a library of mechanics that like work for games, and then we'll like adapt it to that. So, but that's just one example. Like, Pokemon Go just happened to be the best app in the history of mankind in getting people to walk. So that's an example for fitness. Um, and we can talk about customer segments too, but like there's a segment of people who just need this like fun nudging to get out there and do something. There's another segment, I call them the hyper marathoners, that like you actually make it harder for them, then they get interested. Like this is the group that wears like the Garmin watches. I actually saw you had a watch. like they were like oh, it's the Apple Watch. They have like the Garmin watches. They have like 7 shoes a week, sort of a thing. And like for them, like they don't want everything go or hear me out. They want like can what percentage of the speed of Usain Bolt can you run? You'll never be as good as him. And so like different segments want different things.
Hmm, got it. And you said that you can develop games 1,000 times faster than traditional. How are you using these agentic coding environments? Is that
Yes and no. This
okay?
is a little bit of like one of our private things for a bit, but let's put it this way. I mean, obviously that helps, but that's not the trick to it. Um, a really interesting term. that they use in games and in AI and in data engineering. But like I didn't think I never heard them realize that the other group uses it as well. It's like emerging capability. So from AI, you probably know more than me, Greg. An emerging capability is like when you train a model on like coding, and it just happens to get better at English. It was an emergent property because coding has logical structure, and that happened to make your English better because you trained on Reddit, which had no logical structure. And so, or you trained in Spanish and you got better at Italian because it's like this emerging property that comes out. So games have emerging properties too. And essentially, like one of our company's principles is to isolate gameplay, but also our AI and also our data structures into like what are the simplest things on the back end, which will result in emerging gameplay on the on the player side. So like by really focusing on that, but because anybody can make anything fast, but the question is like, did you make it good fast? And so like really understanding how emergent gameplay and AI intersects is how we can not only work fast but work well fast.
Okay, but I'm still not following. 1,000 times faster is remarkable. So if it
I
would take
mean,
a year before, you could do it in a half a day.
yeah, yeah. Well, like other indie games would take like 2-3 years to build before now. Like I think we can
Wow.
get a really good game going in like a couple days. Like maybe not from our day one, but like pretty soon after that. Especially because from the game player perspective, like if you're building a game, like you have to like essentially make everything bespoke. Like you're working in Unity, you have to do the branching narrative structure, you have to build your own game engine, you have to like, all these things. But if we like break those pieces apart and we make them universally applicable and we give that to developers, it should be a lot easier. I think back when we were in Data Robot, we wanted to democratize like data science. I think like the next frontier, the last form of media that we haven't democratized yet is video game making. Even great game developers, after they make their first or second game, it's like having a baby. It's like so hard to do that they just kind of stop, even if their game was successful. It's such a painful process to make a great game, and so like we're hoping just to make it so much easier, so people can like make good experiences, but at the same time like yeah, unlike a lot of like AI slop, we want to like make sure it's high quality and that like it's still authored by the human. It's still authored by these developers, but they're being enabled by the AI instead of like ceding them creative territory.
So you're building more of a development environment or
It's one of the
a
pieces of what
game
we have.
SDK or something like that.
It's definitely
You're
one of
not
the
so much
components.
developing the games themselves,
We're
or are
doing
you?
both.
Mm.
So like we're making the games, but we're also enabling others to remix it. The reason we're doing both is because PlayStation. Have you played PlayStation? I'm sure you played PlayStation.
Yeah, I have a PlayStation.
So they have this controller, and like nobody used all the capabilities of the controller for like 5 years until they came out with Astrobot. And Astrobot finally like used all the functions the controller had. So like what that taught us is like just because the technology exists doesn't mean creatives know how to use it. Or like that it's like fully been unlocked. So we have an in-house studio and we make our own games, but we expect that our games probably be like okay. They'll probably be like like good games, but we are making them more so to enable others to like do better than us. So like it'll show people like yeah, we did the Sherlock Holmes game in London, and maybe somebody will be like, that's good, but I can make something better. And I'm like, be my guest. Like, here's the tools, make the games. So the idea is to make people like love the games, but then also to be like, I can do better than that enough so that we get some really great folks building games that are built for their users. Oh, actually, one of the things we want to accomplish is, we really care about creatives like winning on our platform. So I believe the ratio of like creator to consumer on YouTube is like 1 to 1 million. So like typically like for every 1 million views, the,
Really,
it's very
one to a
lopsided. Very
million.
few creators win the market. Um,
Oh, I see what you mean.
we want to enable more of like smaller communities to play games. So like I'm thinking of as like audience bubbles because like there's only so much eyeball time. Unless you like disrupt the architecture of like eyeball time, to allow like fewer people to win more instead of one group, small people winning a lot, you're just not going to get much creative diversity. So like we want small games to win too. We want like a game that got 1,000 viewers, but those 1,000 people really loved it is a win for us. So that has to do with how you form communities on the platform.
Hmm. Wow, so it's pretty ambitious. Where can I play these games? Can I play one?
In January, yes. Just today we like migrated and redid our whole CI/CD thing, and so very soon I'll send it to you afterwards.
Okay, yeah, awesome. I can't wait to try it. Nice.
What game would you make?
You know what I really want is I want my phone to listen to everything that happens in my life
Hmm.
and like be useful. Do you know what I mean? Like I'm completely fine. I don't know if you've ever had it happen, but you're sitting talking about like fantasy football with your buddy, and like the next day you're seeing ads for fantasy football on Facebook and all these other places, like, and everybody's like, oh, your phone's listening. I'm
Yeah,
like, finally my phone's listening. Like, I carry this thing around with me all the time. I want it to be listening to everything that's going on. I want it to know it's happening so that, if I forget about my dentist appointment, I get a notification that's like, oh, you scheduled a dentist appointment yesterday and you forgot to put it in your calendar. You need to leave now to get there. Like, I want that. That's what I want. I feel like that
you
would
know,
make the quality of my life dramatically better.
one question, then just an idea. Question is, do you care about privacy? Or in other words, how do you care about privacy? Like, what's your orientation towards it?
Well, I like Apple's approach to a lot of what they're doing happens on the device, and it's not sort of going out to to some third party. So like you know edge, like models that are predicting and listening and stuff like that. The more that can happen on the device, it definitely seems better. But then the models are huge, so I don't know how feasible that is.
Yeah, no, no. I think there's a big future in like on-device inference and on-device, and there's ways to use, as you know, like using federated learning to keep the private information on your device and non-private stuff send it off. There's a company, a Y Combinator company called Blue that's trying this right now, but I'm sure like of all companies, Apple's probably going to like lean into it pretty heavily.
Well, the devices are so powerful these days. It's
Y-
not super surprising. But I
Yeah,
mean, I'd even be willing to carry around a spare device that's its only job. I actually ordered a few of them. There was a company called Limitless, I think is the name of it.
yeah,
And they had a little like a dongle that you'd wear like around your neck. Or you could like magnet it onto your
that's right.
clothes. And
I believe they're acquired by Facebook recently, weren't they?
I think so. I think I saw that on LinkedIn. But I got their device and I think they're cutting off support for it actually. Like they said existing devices are going to continue working, but like they're not going to do it anymore. Like I
Yeah.
guess Facebook is like co-opting the technology or something like that. But I wore it for a bit. The main problem is it doesn't do a good job of distinguishing between like TV and real life.
Yes.
I've talked about this before. It was like I was watching Vampire Diaries with my wife, and so like all of a sudden my day summaries are getting polluted with like vampires and werewolves and stuff
Yeah.
in weird ways. So it'd be like, okay, I see what happened there, but I don't like it.
That's funny. But by the way, that's a solved problem now too. Like the Gemini's been. I have to give my hats off to Gemini. Like they've been doing a really good job with like their voice models. Um, I think it's very solvable. Like it's just simple voice detection, context detection.
Well, nobody's done it. I guess the hardware component is hard. I don't know, but we're carrying around the hardware in our pockets. I don't know. How do you feel about the privacy stuff? I mean, do
Well,
you care?
I care for my kids, like the idea of like children's data going to Meta isn't something I'm excited about. The and then like what do you do with it too? That's why like I think the root of it is like what is the intent of this device? Like if it's a social media company, their intent is engagement and selling you as advertising fodder. I think the company, that's the parent company that I would trust with this, like it would just need to be mission and incentive aligned, which you know I don't know which ones are. And so, I think there has to be that. I think I would, uh, technologically, uh, there's a way to have perfect privacy and to have the capabilities you want now, right? With edge inference, and by using federated learning to send the required data only to the cloud for training or whatever. So now that we can do that, I don't know why we wouldn't do it. I think it's better, it's cheaper, in terms of inference cost.
It's
There's
less
lower risk.
profitable.
It's profitable, yeah. I think it'd be profitable.
Less profitable.
Is it?
I don't know. I mean, certainly, like, what do they say that if you can't see the company's like product, it's you kind of thing. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah. No, I think you could pay for this one. So and because the inference is on the edge, like I don't think it even has to be a subscription. Like it could just be a device that does really good inference. And if you want to have like premium or whatever services and connect to the internet and do all that stuff, like maybe you pay for a subscription for that. But like in theory, like we should be able to make very shortly, and as our models are getting smaller, our edge inference is getting better, the capabilities are there. Like federated learning is pretty advanced. Like I think we should be able to come up with a model that you don't have to pay, forever cloud subscription to do some of what
don't
you're doing.
have to.
Well, if you want to like do the federated learning thing and sync it up to the cloud and have other tools. Probably for that you need a subscription, like you do for everything.
Well,
But
I
like,
mean, that's the business model these days. Like you can't even use Quicken without paying a subscription, even though it's a fixed piece of software. And like they've changed everything so that it has to be a subscription these days. It's
but if
kind
you
of
have a
toxic.
but if you have a device that's not using any cloud infrastructure, it's just doing the inference on the device. Um, and like it does everything it like records your transcript, it can convert it to notes. Maybe once in a while you can just bluetooth it or connect it to your laptop, and it'll like upload everything that you can do whatever you want. Like a subscription is justified when the parent company is doing continuous work, right? Like it's hosting your stuff on its cloud, it's doing the compute, it's blah blah blah. But if that stuff is just taken care of by the device and you're paying the electricity, right, you're plugging it in and charging it, like I think we can make a device you don't have to pay a subscription for. I think it'd be pretty cool.
Well, there's can and then there's will, because
Yeah.
the subscription model is more profitable, and that's like the whole the whole point, right?
Here's the bet on human behavior. So like, uh, will consumers reward a company trying to give them what they want?
I think it's the wrong question. I think, will consumers agree to pay $5 a month for the rest of their lives, or will they chunk down $350 once?
Front. Yeah, good point. Yeah.
I think I think the number of people that are happy to pay $5 a month is significantly bigger than the number of people that would pay 350 bucks or $1,000 or, I mean, what is a new iPhone these days? Like 1,100, $1,200?
Yeah, but you still have to play the iCloud subscription.
Well, yeah, you have to. Like that's how they get you, right? So
Yeah.
all these subscriptions, it's madness. I I remember when I first turned off my cable. Like I was an early adopter of cable cutting, and I got rid of my landline and I turned off the cable, and I even had just like an antenna on the top of my house for a while in Alabama. This was like the early 2000s, and that was great. Digital TV was awesome. It's completely free, but we were mostly streaming. And back then, really all there was Netflix. Now there's Netflix and Hulu and Paramount and, like every possible thing. And they've all like quadrupled their prices. And so now I pay more for subscription TV than I ever did for cable.
You're right. I mean, there's a story of, Hotpot. Sorry, Instapot.
I I know what they are. Yeah.
So Instapot is apparently like the perfect product. Like it cooks your food amazingly. Like it's like this pressure
Mm.
cooker, right?
Hmm.
And it sold it to everybody who wanted one. No subscription service, but it succeeded so much that everybody who wanted it got it, and then that was it. Like it's done. And like it's such a perfect product, you couldn't even improve it. And so like
Yes.
they kind of went out of business. I think they like revived recently and moved on. So you're right. This is where like the business model kind of clashes with product quality and so on. I'd like to think that there's a way to have it both ways. Um, but yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, I mean it's wild, right? Like your apps to encourage healthy behavior, or these like edge computing only, no cloud services, no subscription models. Like I don't know, man. Human nature is pretty tainted.
No, I mean Taylor found the same thing with just within
What's
behavioral
that?
science, behavioral economics.
Who found the same thing?
Taylor, the founder of
Oh,
he's like the
Taylor.
founder of behavioral science and all that.
Yeah, yeah,
Chicago professor, Nobel Prize laureate, like really
yeah.
awesome dude. The Hmm. He did find the same thing. I mean, I think a lot of science does not apply to human behavior because humans keep on changing, whereas atoms and bits are always the same, you know? However, like, I do think some principles transfer over. So one principle I think is like Isaac Newton's third law: every action has an equal and opposite reaction. I think when people get so fed up with something, they start looking for the opposite. So as yourself, I think people are getting fed up with subscriptions and like infinite subscriptions. I think they're getting fed up with like a number of things. So, like, we can always figure out tech and we can always figure out design and all these things, but like sometimes you have to solve for this like ephemeral moment of like consumer behavior that's like different. So, I, as a parent, want something that is not always linked to the cloud for my kids. I met a ton of parents who do, like, they're pretty desperate for it. Uh, I would like something that they can just have, and I don't have to like worry about the monthly bill. And I would pay money for it. Honestly, a lot of the team members at my company that's how they kind of like joined. It's like, yeah, let's build this thing. But we'll see. I think you're completely right. Like it's much easier to sell $5 a month and this and that, but like, and even I provided you the use case of the case study of like how when it doesn't work with like Instapot, the perfect pressure cooker. But but maybe one way to have it both ways is you sell that product and there's like a kind of a premium additional offering. And I think what it establishes, it doesn't establish the tech, nor does it establish the business model, but it establishes the brand. Like it establishes like this is a brand that I like and I kind of trust it. Whereas like I think by nature people like don't trust some companies, like like a Meta or so on. Like there's just some inherent mistrust there. And
Yeah,
I think
and rightly so.
what I learned from like actually I don't know if I can mention this company's name, but there's companies that that like they sell on brand, they don't sell on like just product specs. So it's a bet on consumer behavior.
Yeah. I was going to ask you. Um, hmm, I forgot completely what I was going to ask you.
Sorry.
What's the name of your company?
Partake.
Partake.
Yeah.
PARTAKE .com .ai
.ai. Somebody else's
.ai.
.com. I got
Yeah.
let's partake .com, and then I don't think the person using partake.com is using it, but it was like $100,000, so I'm not gonna spend that on a
Yeah.
domain.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Zorv.com is owned by some defunct vacation rental thing or something, and we've never been able to get it. So yeah, it's just
Yeah.
Zorv.ai. So so your launch is in January, and how many people do you have working on the product?
Just 4 right now. So we haven't raised yet. We're raising in January just because we wanted to like sort out some enterprise BD contracts that might be coming through, and that'll obviously help the valuation a little bit. And just wanted to like you know figure things out. I do respect this company, Surge. They never raised a single dollar, and they managed to make $1 billion in revenue. Crazy. So and I
Well,
watched
that's
this interview
handy,
with Steve Jobs. Even after Apple IPO'd, it was 50% employee owned. Like these are things that we aspire to, like being employee owned, not having to take VC money. But I don't know if we'll be able to escape all that. So I've been trying to delay the raise as much as possible and keep it as small as possible. But we'll see what happens.
right? Got it. And are your customers individuals or businesses or developers or?
Our wedge and go to market is B2B. We're calling ourselves a B2B2C kind of company. Um, and but like we'll always care about the end user even though we're not selling to them in the beginning. We have a couple of different business models. One of them is to the RL side, one of them is to the B2B side. um but we'll kind of hammer it out as we go. We have like a couple of options to pick and we'll just kind of see which one works the best.
What sort of business would buy your product?
So on the RL side, your typical research laboratories that are training models that need the data. I think especially the folks who are getting interested in spatial and world models are a very interesting, group of customers. And then on the game side, so like if you once again, we have a lot of games, but if you just think about Hear Me Out, like the one that's outside, then who are people who have problems with like foot traffic, who are relevant sites to visit, like museum, cultural sites, events like South by Southwest and so on. So we can procedurally make the games that will fit into their site without like needing to do anything bespoke. That said though, like if they have specific goals like more foot traffic, selling more tickets, turning one-time visits into annual visits, turning annual visits into merchandise sales in the post, all that sort of thing. So there's probably like ways that we can help them with that. And so all these sites and events and cultural things, it's like our first kind of vertical, but we have like 5 or 6 different verticals we can approach.
Kind of an augmented reality kind of thing. So
Yeah.
you'd stage it at a location, and then organizations would pay you to make cool things happen at that organization in order to increase foot traffic.
1,000,000%. But we're, instead of calling it augmented reality, which it kind of is, because like that's like this construct of like the reality is being augmented for you to explore. We're thinking about it more as like cooperative reality, because like we emphasize the relationship between you and things and places, but we more so emphasize the relationship between you and other people and your AI. Like we want the AI NPCs. We want them to like actually help you in your life. Like this one will speak to you in the language you want to learn. This one is kind of like your fitness coach, and you'll be like,
Yes.
hey, get off this platform, go run. And so like, I think the word cooperative, it emphasizes relationships more than like you and things, like you and things and places. Also, like I'll just be honest and credit the guy. In the 1960s, there was this computer scientist named Licklider out of MIT. And he was probably like he wrote this amazing paper on like man machine interaction and like what's the right relationship between you and your AI. So like his kind of construct I think is really inspiring. And yeah, I think cooperative, like how does cooperation look like? Not only is it something that I think people are familiar with from games, but it works with the AI as well.
What was the cooperation between human and machine? Talk more about a bit about that.
So he's dealing with it at the level of interface. So you know, early on when you would sign on to like your Microsoft DOS computer, and you get like system error 358, and it's like this very jarring, like non-human kind of. Or even now, I think a lot of the AI is just like, how do I make you addicted to me? It's kind of like what it's trying to do. Um, like he was more of like he's more like the interface should be like human and natural. It should be like welcoming. It should invite and incentivize you to be creative. And like, how do you do that? I believe his paper was called, let me just look it up right now. I believe it was called man machine symbiosis. And now that we have, AI, it's called man computer symbiosis. Now that you have this, very like, I think AI is a very intimate technology. Like people treat it like their therapist or their friend or, anything. So I think it's a very important time to take a step back and think about what we want that relationship to be like, and not just like from a one-to-one level, but like from like us and our kids, their like child development. How does it function in society? Like all the questions. I'll send you the paper here. Oh, shit, I don't think this has chat. But it's just called Man Computer Symbiosis by Licklider. I think it's a must read for anybody now. He's a really cool guy. JCR Licklider, 1960s. Worth a read.
Got it. Awesome. Well, I'm super pumped to hear about all the cool things that you're doing. Anything else you want to promote while we're chatting?
Um, let's see, all about optimizing AI for human outcomes rather than engagement. Uh, all about thinking for, what's the sort of device and platform and, media that we want for our kids instead of like, just for like adults. And all that. So those are the two things I'm kind of focused on right now. Um, how's Verve doing? Zerv, sorry,
Well,
Zerv.
yeah, Zerv, we're growing really rapidly. It's Zerv is a development environment for data scientists, right? So writing code to interact with your data and build pipelines and do analytics and build models and all that sort of thing. But
Amazing.
yeah, we launched a while back and we're growing, adding users every day. So it's really fantastic.
Very cool. Well, as always, great catching up, Greg. Wonderful
Yeah,
chatting.
absolutely. Great to see you, Saad. All right, cool.